Here to weigh in, we've got Jason Greenblatt, President Trump's former special envoy for Middle East peace. And Jason, so much has happened since we last spoke about this plan. Where is it right now? What's the timeline of it actually going through?
Well, like all peace efforts before the plan of President Trump, peace there has been on pause for decades. The Palestinian leadership trashed the plan before it even came out, refuses to come to the table to negotiate, other than by saying that if the Israelis accept their maximalist demands, plus or minus a little bit, then they're willing to negotiate directly with the Israelis. The Israelis, on the other hand, seem to be willing to embrace the plan and negotiate in good faith with the Palestinians. My hope is that eventually we get the two sides to the table and they start negotiating on what we think is a realistic and implementable plan that could bring forward both people, security for Israel, better lives for the Palestinians, and prosperity for a lot of the region.
Of course, you need the two parties to come together to at least start talking. We do know that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he would start the process of annexing parts of the West Bank starting on July 1st. Obviously, that day has come and gone. What's the status there?
It's a bit hard to tell. I think Israel right now is focused on COVID-19. There's been a bit of a resurgence there. I think that they have a lot of questions to answer internally. The Trump administration believes, as do I, that the land that Israel would apply its sovereignty to and extend its law really should be part of Israel in any peace plan. But of course, it's up to Israel first to make that decision. And I don't think, like many in the traditional world think, that this is the reason that the peace plan would not move forward. This has not been an issue before, meaning there has been no peace even with what people call settlements existence. The settlements, which I call cities and neighborhoods, have been blamed for the lack of peace. I think that's simply a straw man and not the right argument. The right argument is, how do we get the two sides together to negotiate in good faith and not blame issues that are really not the things that are blocking peace?
What do you think that would be, realistically? I mean, it's a give and take, right?
It is a give and take, but one of the major stumbling blocks before you even get to the core issue is that the Palestinian leadership is divided. You have a leadership in Ramallah that controls the areas of the Palestinian territories in Judea and Samaria, what some call the West Bank. And then you have the terrorist thugs funded by Hamas, who control Gaza and cause 2 million Palestinians there to suffer, plus, of course, harm to Israel. Until they get their act together and figure out how to lead and how to negotiate, there's really no hope, frankly. But I hope that they figure that out, because the only way peace will arrive is if the two sides negotiate together, not through UN resolutions, not through UN international conferences. All of that is a complete waste of time. Only the two sides together could get through this mess.
Yet President Trump has made it clear that he's interested in being supportive of peace talks. Of course, he's facing an election here in the United States. I'm wondering how a Joe Biden victory in November could potentially impact these peace talks, if at all.
I think if there were to be a Joe Biden victory, I think that he would probably go back to the traditional line of thinking, which is come up with vague statements that mean little to nothing. The so-called two-state solution, which means different things to different people. I'm afraid that he would likely put our peace plan, which we spent nearly 3 years working on, in the draw, start back to where prior administrations have tried. Those were well-meaning, sincere efforts, but they led to nothing. So I would hope that if there were a victory, that he would not throw everything out, but rather take what we did, learn from it, understand it, and try to get the two sides to negotiate based off of it. That said, of course, I'm a President Trump fan, so I hope that he'll be there for another 4 years.
Jason, I want to talk to you about this, an op-ed in the New York Times on Israel, saying, quote, "I no longer believe in a Jewish state." The author basically stating that there should no longer be a Jewish state here. What do you think of the fact that it's running in the New York Times?
You know, it's sort of amazing. First of all, I thought the op-ed was arrogant. I thought it showed a complete lack of understanding of the issues. I thought it was thoroughly agenda-driven for an agenda that is hardly embraced by anybody. There's a small portion of the population that would want what this individual wants. And frankly, it's irrelevant, right? We're not the ones who live there. We're not the ones who sacrifice there. We're not the ones who suffer there. We have no right to demand what should be there. So I don't understand why the New York Times would allow its pages to be used for pure propaganda, and a piece that is so one-sided and so looked at through a lens of a particular person's agenda. I'm disappointed in the New York Times for entertaining it and actually printing it.
All right, Jason Greenblatt, thanks for coming on today's program and sharing your thoughts.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
You got it.